Hey there, folks. Welcome to the program. This, of course, is Stinchfield, the podcast. It is so great to be along with you today. President Trump making huge news, by the way. Finally, we're getting, I don't want to call it an admission because President Trump has been so focused, on Operation Warp Speed. And I will agree that the sheer speed of Warp Speed was nothing short of impressive. The problem was the outcome was horrible. The COVID vaccine was horrible. President Trump now offering up a Truth Social post saying he just wants the truth. He wants transparency from the drug companies, that the drug companies are giving him one set of numbers, but they won't make these numbers public. Why is that? Because I believe they'll get good doctors, like so many of the doctors we see over at the wellness company, that will be calling them out when they start to look at the facts of all of this. So I'm going to read you President Trump's Truth Social post. We'll get down to this, and we'll show you what the mainstream media is doing to counteract all of that. All right. But before we do that, I want to tell you about my friends over at the Wellness Company. By the way, folks, I finished my parasite cleanse, and I feel fabulous. Do you know I actually think my skin is cleared up after this parasite cleanse? I feel like my stomach bloat has gone away after the parasite cleanse. 60 million Americans with parasites. Disgusting. You can get one sold out 3 times, by the way, at the Wellness Company. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. Then, of course, you've got the prescription medical kits. If you don't have one of these in your home, you are simply not prepared. Ivermectin in these kits, as well as most of the antibiotics you'll need to keep you and your family safe. You start to come down with strep throat, something like that. Amoxicillin in here, a Z-Pack, you name it, you'll have it. Speed of delivery is what you need. Use that promo code GRANT, by the way, twc.health/grant. All right, with that, folks, let's get the show started.
Uncensored and unapologetic. This is Stinchfield. Here's your host, Grant Stinchfield.
All right, welcome back, everyone. I told you President Trump, this Truth Social post that he put out here, this is a blockbuster because finally what he is quietly calling for is an investigation into Big Pharma. He knows now, I can tell by the tone of this Truth Social post, that he's been lied to. Let me read it to you here before we get to our guest. Quote, "It is very important that the drug companies justify the success of their various COVID drugs. Many people think they were a miracle that saved millions of lives. Others disagree. With CDC being ripped apart over this question, I want the answer, and I want it now. I have been shown information from Pfizer and others that extraordinary, but they never seem to show those results to the public. Why not? They go off to the next hunt and let everyone rip themselves apart, including Bobby Kennedy Jr. and CDC trying to figure out the success or failure of the drug company's COVID work. They show me great numbers and results, but they don't seem to be showing them to many others. I want them to show them now to CDC and the public and clear up this mess. One way or the other, I hope Operation Warp Speed was as brilliant as many say it was. If not, we all want to know about it and why. Thank you for your attention to this very important matter, President DJT." That's Donald J. Trump. Now, you may say, okay, he says many think it was as brilliant as it was. All right, President Trump's got to put that in there. But the bottom line is he just wants the truth. And this is really the first time that I've seen him this forcefully ask for the truth about the COVID vaccine. That can only be taken as good news. I want to bring in now an outspoken critic of the COVID vaccine, like all of the doctors over at the Wellness Company that have really seen that this is proven to be a disaster in the end, the COVID vaccine. Dr. Hadar Elbaz is with us. Doc, it's great to have you on the program.
Thanks, Grant.
All right, what do you make of President Trump's Truth Social post?
Well, he's finally acknowledging the elephant in the room, right? I mean, since COVID started and the rollout of the vaccine started, it's really not that brilliant. It's really not extraordinary information. It's sad that this vaccine has really cost so many lives in America and worldwide. And, you know, this is a catastrophe and it's not to be denied anymore. And I'm really glad he's bringing it out finally and demanding answers. And the American population and everyone is demanding answers as well. So I'm glad he's finally speaking up.
What do you think Big Pharma's reaction to this is going to be?
Big Pharma is denying it, of course. And remember, Pfizer wanted to keep the data hidden for 75 years. Why is that? Because they know the catastrophic effects of the vaccine. And by the way, 2 months after the rollout of COVID vaccine, Pfizer came out with a miraculous drug for cardiac issues, health issues, myocarditis. Why is that? They knew the catastrophic effects of this vaccine, or really gene therapy. It's not a vaccine. It's not a real vaccine. They never had safety data or scientific data or studies done on that.
So it's interesting because the mainstream media virtually ignores President Trump's Truth Social post. You had a number of CDC resignations over the last week or so. One of them is from this doctor. His name is Dimitri Daskalakis. This guy, we'll get into his background, is not really the guy that I want to be going to for the source of my medical information. But let me play for you the clip of how it went down on ABC this week. This is Martha Raddatz interviewing her. And first, I'm going to play for you how Martha Raddatz sets this up.
I'm joined now by Dr. Dimitri Daskalakis, who stepped down this week from his position leading the CDC's National Center for Immunization and Respiratory Diseases. Thank you for joining us this morning, Doctor. You have been at the CDC for 5 years, about 7 months under Secretary Kennedy. In your resignation letter, you said that the CDC is generating policies that do not reflect scientific reality and are designed to hurt rather than improve the public's health. What are you talking about specifically?
All right, before we get to him, you notice how she sets this up. And the amazing thing, Doc, is this is the criticism I had of the pre-Bobby Kennedy Jr. CDC, of the pre-President Trump CDC, that they were not following the science. It's the exact criticism I had of them.
Well, they had no science of this vaccine whatsoever. Zero. There is no science here.
There is not. Let me play for you his answer here.
I mean, I'm going to say, well, first, thank you for having me on, Martha. And I'll say that we're seeing the tip of the iceberg. So right now, I think probably the most prominent demonstration of that is what Secretary Kennedy did with changing the childhood schedule for COVID-19. In that, we were directed that only children with underlying conditions would be the ones that should qualify for vaccination. That's not what the data shows. 6-month-old to 2-year-old, their underlying condition is youth. 53% of those children hospitalized last season had no underlying conditions. The data say that in that age range, you should be vaccinating your child. I understand that not everybody does it, but.
All right. Your response to that, because I'm thinking, one, not many children were vaccinated. Not many children were actually hospitalized. Nearly zero of them were dying, and that you want to vaccinate now the entire population with a vaccine, by the way, that's been proven not to work. But your reaction to what he's saying, I saw you shaking your head there.
Yeah, I am. I mean, because again, children at that age are not at risk. And this vaccine has no safety data. It's only showed the opposite of how much it causes not just neuropsychiatric issues, but health issues, cardiac issues, neurological issues, so many other issues. Why would babies need that shot that can only harm? There's zero scientific data that shows any success, anything healthy about that vaccine. It's a needle full of toxins that can only harm. And I've seen so many people have been harmed or died from that shot.
You know, what he says, half the babies, half the people that vaccinated half the people that were hospitalized were young children. What he doesn't tell you is very few people were hospitalized. So it's like saying half the people who were hospitalized need the vaccine, but you only have 2 people that were hospitalized. That would mean one of them. And you have a very, very small data set, but he's making it sound like this is large amounts of people.
I think it's a lot of data made up, to be honest. I don't think he has the real truth. I don't think he's speaking the truth, to be honest, about the hospitalizations. And as you recall, during COVID, how many incentivized doctors had been paid so much more money if you diagnosed a patient sick with or died with COVID? They were incentivized to diagnose them with that. So I don't think this data is correct at all.
All right, let me play some more of him.
They have limited access by narrowing that recommendation. Insurance may not cover it.
And you say designed to hurt. The policies are designed to hurt the public's health. Are you saying they are deliberately, purposely, knowingly hurting public health?
I mean, from my vantage point as a doctor who's taken the Hippocratic Oath, I only see harm coming. I may be wrong, but based on what I'm seeing, based on what I've heard with the new members of the Advisory Committee for Immunization Practices, or ACIP, they're really moving in an ideologic direction where they want to see the undoing of vaccination. They do want to see the undoing of mRNA vaccination. They have a very specific target on COVID, but I do fear that they have other things that they are going to be working on. Hepatitis B vaccine is on the agenda for the meeting in September. I predict that what they're going to do.
All right, so he's going to talk about hepatitis B in a second. I can't wait to play that for you. But your reaction to what he just laid out there?
First, I mean, I know you want to talk about the hepatitis B, but this really threw me off because, again, hepatitis B, when a baby is born, the baby is not.
Hold on 1 second. So, Sophie, we're going to talk about that in a second because I'm going to play the soundbite. So I'll get to that. But your thoughts about this guy here, and I'll give you my thoughts about this guy, okay? This is who they're talking about. This is who ABC marches up as their expert on everything. A beta male, to say the least, as I'm watching him talk. I don't know what it was about the Biden administration that loves beta males, okay? That's being kind. But this is from apparently his public profile. This has been what's spread around on social media. This is who we're supposed to take advice to. That's the good doctor. Dimitri Daskalakis, according to social media, the CDC guy, that's who we're supposed to be taking advice from, Doc.
That's disturbing. That's satanic behavior. That's not a doctor who I would ever trust my children or myself or anyone else with, because look at his behavior. Look what he's posting. That's not clean. That's not energetically clean. That's not anything I would ever want to be around. That's Satan. That's just not good.
Well, certainly the top right corner looks satanic to me. A guy who takes a Hippocratic oath.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense. And then there's this from this guy, and we're going to talk about hepatitis. But then there's this from this guy.
Everyone should be tested for HIV. And I think that especially in the LGBTQAI community, it's really important to remember that you should get tested again and you should get tested frequently. And really the message really is that there's nothing scary about it.
All right. I agree if you are gay, Doc, that you probably should get tested regularly for HIV. But his first comment was everyone should be tested for HIV. I promise you, I don't need to be tested for HIV. I don't think everyone needs to be tested for HIV.
No, and there is precautions to be made when you're, if you want to get tested all the time, by all means, go for it. If he wants to do it, go for it. But what is he doing that he needs to be tested so much? What is he using? Who is he with? Clearly not a monogamous relationship, but also not clean one. Again, not clean energy, not clean anything. I would never trust my life or anyone else's in his hands.
All right. So now you wanted to talk about hepatitis. So I will let you respond to this.
Hepatitis B vaccine is on the agenda for the meeting in September. I predict that what they're going to do is try to change the birth dose of hepatitis B vaccine so that kids don't get it when they're born. So if you have a mother who is well connected to care, you know her hepatitis B status, that may not matter very much. But if you have a mother who's not gone to prenatal care, who comes in to deliver, we have one bite at that apple so that child gets that important hepatitis B vaccine. Why does it matter? Kids who have hepatitis B, they get liver scarring. It's called cirrhosis later in life. Or it's a really common cause of liver cancer.
Can I ask you a question, Doc? Why can't they just test the mom for hepatitis B? And if she has it, then vaccinate them. But if she doesn't have it, there's no need to vaccinate these kids with it.
100%. And again, it's follow the money, right? So babies do not need hepatitis B vaccine. They're not having sex with a prostitute and they're not dealing with needles in their veins. So there is no need for that whatsoever. This is the most ridiculous vaccine, and the amount of aluminum and heavy metals adjuvants in that vaccine is detrimental for one's health. I actually had to get that during nursing school, and I took 2 rounds, and I was sicker than sick. And this is what really woke me up to what is in vaccines. Start studying it. That's where I got my PhD as well, part of my doctorate. But this is disturbing. No one should be taking it unless, of course, you are sleeping with a prostitute. You do have hepatitis B, and you do want to make sure that the mother who is giving birth is clean. But don't just go and poison the baby for no good reason. 0 reasons.
It seems to me that mothers would be honest with doctors if the doctors are doing a questionnaire of what you may be at risk for. If the mother acknowledges some of these things, I know the mother's not going to want to hurt the baby. Then you can test the mom, but you don't need to just blanketly vaccinate every single baby with hepatitis B. But what does it do? Of course, it enriches Big Pharma. You vaccinate every baby, well, that's one shot that every baby is going to be sold in America today. And again, it's more billions of dollars for big pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
It's all about the money.
It always seems to be. So with that, this guy, I believe, was the one that had mentioned birthing people. Okay. Now, if you're a doctor and you refuse to call a mom, you've lost all credibility with me. Scott Jennings tried to call this out on CNN over the weekend. Scott Jennings is the one conservative. He's a valuable voice on CNN now for common sense. Well, the panel of cackling hens go crazy that he would be upset that a doctor would use the term birthing people, seeing that they would claim that it doesn't have anything to do with anything. He claims it does. It has to do with the assessment of whether or not someone is or someone has common sense and can be trusted. Listen to how this plays out.
I just have to say, he did use the term pregnant people in his resignation
Oh, come
letter.
on.
And I'm sorry, if that is like the way you're presenting information, I have questions about your credibility.
Scott, it's so amazing.
It's not a ruse. He really wrote it down.
We are talking
about this guy's not credible to me. That's all I'm telling you.
Scott, are you serious?
Come on.
No, he is not credible.
No. Are you serious that this is
Yes, he did write it.
that of all the things that we're talking about here, immunizations, vaccines, autism, the research about on communicable diseases, on cancer, and you are the most concerned about someone's use of the word people.
Yeah, because
that's the most important thing
because you were just complaining about the politicization of science, and I can't think of politicization of science more than that, or what some of these people said to the American people during COVID. So the credibility of some of these folks who are complaining. Look.
Okay, so
I'm complaining, and I'm a public health and preventive medicine physician.
I understand the rhetoric and the political.
You realize that you're accepting some politicization of science, but not others, right?
What's the politicization of science that's been accepted?
Can men get pregnant or not?
Scott,
if you're in the CDC and you believe that, I'm saying you're not a terribly credible person.
The CDC that is responsible for the health and well-being of the nation.
That has absolutely nothing.
Nothing to do with
it does, because it's a question of whether your scientists are going to politicize or not, and you accept some and not others.
To do with the conversation that we are having.
I disagree. It's a credibility.
Why would we do that when people have died and are dying? Why would we do that when people's children are being dehumanized
in this country about real things, when everything just becomes about buzzwords
or political products?
I don't understand why you're rejecting this criticism of someone's credibility.
Because I think that what matters to people in their homes is whether or not they know what immunizations their child should have.
So,
wow.
I mean, they are so deranged, and he's so correct that if you think that a man can get pregnant, I do not want you as my doctor. It's that simple.
Right. There's two genders, as a man and a woman. Only women can give birth and get pregnant. So if they think otherwise, and by the way, they wouldn't let him speak. It was like a terror in the whole conversation.
You know, when I watch him do this, I don't know how he keeps it together, because I feel like I'm a pro and I've been in situations where it gets a little tense. He's in that situation every single day on CNN. Maybe that's why he's perfected it so well. I don't know if I could hold it together. Could you?
No, not with these ladies around yelling at me while I try to speak.
No, they're very bad. RFK Jr. was on camera talking about the vaccines and kids. And let me play this clip.
The vaccine is ineffective for the first 6 weeks after the first shot. I'm assuming a two-shot, a two-dose vaccine like Pfizer or Moderna. And that during that period, the COVID infection rate goes up and the death rate goes up. And the data, the official data, do not count you as vaccinated until 2 weeks after the second shot. So the deaths that happen during that first 6 weeks are attributed to unvaccinated people, to the unvaccinated group, which is not, it's a trick. It's a statistical trick. Then the vaccine appears to provide immunity, and good immunity during the first month or 2 months, and then a precipitous decline, a waning that happens very, very quickly and very precipitously, so that by the 7th month, it has lapsed into negative efficacy. And what that means is that after 7 months, if you had that vaccine, you are more likely to get COVID than somebody who has never been vaccinated. And this data is holding up across every country in the world.
So I guess Dmitry Daskalakis, the satanic gay doctor from the CDC, who just resigned, is not looking at the same data. And I did find it interesting that if you died after the first COVID shot, it doesn't count as a COVID death. And I guess they're not counting it as a vaccine death either. So you just get thrown out in the mix and they don't count it because it's not good for them, when it ought to be counted as a real problem with the vaccine.
Yeah, so how much data is actually really missing from VAERS, right? The Vaccine Act, the vaccine adverse event. I'm curious because if so many people have been vaccinated with just one shot and then died right after the first shot, and they're saying it's not from the vaccine, really, it is from the vaccine usually, or most likely. There's so much data missing, and obviously this vaccine is not effective in preventing COVID. Clearly, it's actually going to lead to more COVID health issues and death and myocarditis and whatever from the vaccine itself, but it's neither safe nor effective. There is a lot of data missing, and I do want to see what Pfizer has to, what they have to say. I'm so curious. Trump, I cannot wait for President Trump to actually get the information, and for Americans to get all the information and the transparency that they deserve as well, because there's a lot of data missing.
Well, there sure is. And I think one of the problems with all of this is you've got Big Pharma and the hospital chains and many of the medical practices hiding the data because they were wrong. Big Pharma was wrong, except it made all kinds of money. So they're hiding the data in all of this. And so we're just not getting the truth. Thankfully, the folks at the Wellness Company are giving us the truth. And I want to remind folks about, one, the parasite cleanse. I'm telling you, I'm so glad that I did this. Someone asked me, how often do you do it? And I think about 2 to 3 times a year, but you do have to buy one parasite cleanse from the Wellness Company. I'm not going to lie to you. It's not, they're not cheap by any means, but you'll get to use it about 3 times during the course of the year. And so that's a good thing. twc.health/grant. Use the promo code GRANT. We've all seen the video now flying around of parasites and fish at the grocery store. Just disgusting. I've always been in pretty good shape, but I feel like my bloat has gone down after taking the parasite cleanse. That's very important. Then, of course, there is the kits, the medical kits. These are very important for you to have. This is about keeping your family safe. If you think you're prepared for everything, you're not unless you have one of these emergency medical kits on you. The most common antibiotics, antivirals, and antiparasitics you can have in one kit sent to you from the Wellness Company. twc.health/grant. twc.health/grant. So I just want to remind everybody, what we were up against so many years ago. This is a news clip from CNN, of all places, talking about what has now turned out to be indisputable, all right, that the vaccines were not even close to 100% effective. But watch them.
We do have some breaking news. Drug maker Pfizer just announcing the results of its vaccine trial for adolescents. It says its coronavirus shot was 100% effective at preventing infection and sickness among 12 to 15-year-olds. This could be a major game changer for reopening schools across America. So joining us now is Dr. Chris Purnell. She's a public health physician and fellow at the American College of Preventive Medicine. Dr. Purnell, great to see you. 100% effective? Is that, John and I haven't heard numbers like that. Is that unusual to find that efficacy rate?
Well, that's even higher than what we were reported when we had 95% efficacy in adults. Look.
You never had 95%. You never had 100%. They were all doctored numbers. The studies were bogus. Turns out to all be false. I'm telling you, I think they all need to be brought up on criminal charges. I really do, including members of the mainstream media. Now, I get that they're being fed this from their cronies in the Democrat Party and their cronies at Big Pharma, but somebody needs to be held accountable for this, and I think that's what President Trump's Truth Social post was all about, Doc.
Yeah, crimes against humanity, 100%. I mean, Americans were coerced, and worldwide, again, coerced to take this deadly, fatal, non-vaccine vaccine. Like the jab is just not a vaccine. It's genetic alteration substance, if you will. So anyone who is coerced, if it's really good, why don't you let everyone choose to take it? My body, my choice. Being coerced into something just rings and screams red flags everywhere to me. Nothing safe or effective about it.
Let me remind everyone of what your colleague, Dr. Peter McCullough, who I think is maybe, if not the foremost expert on this, one of 5 or 10 of them, and many of them working for the wellness company. This is Dr. McCullough at a congressional hearing.
Now, the topic today is myocarditis or heart damage from the COVID-19 vaccines. I'm a cardiologist. I know the topic well. I've examined thousands of patients with this problem. Thousands. Before the pandemic, I had 2 patients ever with this problem. There's 1,065 papers in the peer-reviewed literature on COVID vaccine myocarditis. So let me summarize them for you. The first one that came on my radar screen that was alarming came from Washington University in St. Louis, August 18th of 2021. The first author is Verma and colleagues. New England Journal of Medicine. 42-year-old man comes into Washington University Hospital with vaccine myocarditis. The infection is ruled out. It's the vaccine. He's in the hospital. This is one of our best hospitals in the United States. He dies 3 days after taking Moderna. They can't save him in the hospital.
Say, Dr. McCullough, move the microphone just a little bit away from you.
Then one was reported from Korea by Choi and colleagues. This is now a younger man. Just a few days after Pfizer, he comes in the hospital. He dies within 8 hours of being in the hospital. I can tell you, I'm a cardiologist. That doesn't even happen with heart attacks. He dies within 8 hours. I examined all of the slides and the images that the Koreans had showed us. It looked like somebody took a blowtorch to that heart. It was so completely fried with inflammation. His heart was destroyed. These cases, which were widely known at the time, should have gotten everyone's attention. Everyone should have been laser focused on this. We should never have someone die after taking a vaccine. That's directly caused to the vaccine. Then Gill and colleagues, Connecticut, published in Archives of Pathology. 2 boys, aged 16 and 17, who die a few days after taking Pfizer. These are teenagers. They're found dead at home by their parents. They're absolutely horrified. They request an autopsy. They call in University of Michigan and University of Minnesota to look over what are they finding at autopsy. Conclusion, it's Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine myocarditis, unequivocal. These are autopsy-confirmed cases. So for all the mothers in the room, how would they feel if they found their children dead after taking a COVID-19 vaccine? This is in the peer-reviewed literature. This is not misinformation. Everyone should be paying attention to this. This is not conjecture. This is in the peer-reviewed literature. So,
Doc, I'll give you the last word and your response to Dr. McCullough there.
Yeah, I have patients who I had to refer to cardiologists as well. I have so many patients who have also DVT, like blood clots in their legs, in their lungs, everywhere in their body. They can't function properly. They're short of breath. They're not feeling well. They have autoimmune disorders, psychiatric problems, cancers, turbo cancers. I've lost friends to turbo cancer after the vaccine. So he's obviously giving the data, raw data, and it's true. I mean, again, this is why Pfizer came out with a drug for myocarditis 2 months after the rollout of the vaccine. What does that tell you? They knew all along. And, if it were me, and I'm not vaccinated, but I still do, I take the spike support, the ultimate spike support from the wellness company. And I highly recommend anyone who is vaccinated and all those who are not. I am not vaccinated. I take it every day because it does help break down the spike protein from the body. So this is one thing I would recommend here as a holistic doctor to everyone listening. And I'm sure you have a link for that. I see it on the screen. So definitely go grab that ultimate spike support or regular spike support. Consult with our doctors. We can help. And this is not something that you should just take lightly. This vaccine is 3 years later, they're still showing that the spike protein replicates in your body. And I do recommend going to get your spike quantitative test from a lab, LabCorp, I believe, has that test. So get yourself tested for antibodies for the spike in your body, and definitely get on a spike, ultimate spike support from the wellness.
I know Dr. McCullough is the one that came up with the spike support protocol. Can you explain to me? It's worked for a lot of people now. This has been studied, the spike support, and it works.
Yeah. So the spike support, the regular spike support has the nattokinase and dandelion green and other synergistic herbs to help break down the spike protein and help stopping the spike protein from adhering to the ACE2 receptors in your body. The ultimate spike support combines the nattokinase plus dandelion plus turmeric or curcumin and bromelain, and that really helps reduce the inflammation, breaks down the spike protein, and helps cellular rejuvenation in your body, and helps, like I said, reduce inflammation and protects yourself. So if you are on blood thinners, consult your physician. But the wellness company, we have appointments online as well. So I highly recommend purchasing that. This is one of the best. I take it daily. It gives you energy. It helps your platelets. It helps your spike protein in your body. So definitely get on that. Again, Dr. McCullough's brilliant invention.
It is great advice, to say the least. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your insight into all of this. Really a big historic day by President Trump demanding the truth out of Big Pharma. And I know that's something you were looking for a long time. Doctor, it's great having you on. Thank you, as always.
Thank you so much. Love being here. Thanks, Grant.
Absolutely. And again, the website, twc.health/Grant. You got the spike support. I think if you're vaccinated, you've got to take this and beyond this. Get this spike the spike protein out of your system. The spike detox can help you with that. There's the parasite cleanse, which I'm a huge fan of now after I've finished my course of this. I'm just feeling so much better. And then, of course, the emergency medical kits as well, and so much more. Go to the website, peruse it. I promise you won't be disappointed. twc.health/Grant. Use that promo code GRANT for 10% off. That's going to do it for us tonight on Real America's Voice. Remember, we got the show 7 p.m. Eastern time. Sheriff Villanueva from L.A. County, the former sheriff, has done some insight and some investigation into crime statistics in L.A. County. And lo and behold, some shocking trends have emerged that explains it all, so to speak. We're going to have the sheriff on the program tonight. Stinchfield's Army Rolls. Please like this program, share it if you can, copy the link, tweet it out if you can, whatever you can do to help spread the word. We are grateful for that. You can find me at Stinchfield 1776 on all the social media platforms. God bless all of you. We'll see you tonight on the Real America's Voice Show. Thanks for watching, everybody.